Welcome, folks, to a new series I'm trying out. In this series, we'll be covering the mechs, machinations, and many worlds and events of the BattleTech universe. In this series, known as BattleTech Simplified. For the first episode, we're going to be covering a mech that, to many, is the light workhorse of the Inner Sphere scouting regiments all across the Inner Sphere. To those who know it best, this is a speedy, lightly armored, effective scout mech that when paired with multiple of its kind can overwhelm even the most insanely tough and resourceful battle mechs in weight classes higher than up to twice their weight. Today, we will be covering the Locust. The Locust was one of the most common battle mechs in existence, having been in continuous production since the design was first introduced by Bergen Industries in 2499. One of the smallest mechs ever built, the Locust was designed exclusively for reconnaissance and quick strike missions, using its then phenomenal speed to outrun most enemies. In a situation where it was unable to outrun its enemies, the mech did have a light array of weapons with which to defend itself, but the Locust lacked the firepower or staying power to be a true frontline combatant, and as a result, few mech warriors enjoy piloting Locusts. Within its weight class, though, the Locust was considered an excellent mech, overshadowed as a scout only by designs which mounted jump jets. Often when a Locust engaged in combat, it was as a holding action until reinforcements could arrive, although when operating in groups of 3, they could swarm lone enemies and that were separated from friendly support. Bergen Industries built Locusts from 8 different factories supplied the Star League and its member states right through to the American Civil War. During the Succession Wars, the number of manufacturers increased, and the design was being built in nearly a dozen factories, including ones in the periphery. Besides Bergen's Ares facility, versions were also built by Defiance Industries, Akamar Battle Mechs, Quarian Enterprises, the Free World's Defense Industries, Alliance Defenders Limited, Majesty Metals and Manufacturing, Toros Territorial Industries, Pinard Protectorates Limited, and many more. The wide variety of manufacturers meant costs for producing the mech were low, and parts were widely available, leading to everyone from lowly pirates to corporate defense forces buying Locusts in large numbers. It has also led to many different variants of the Locust, including a failed Davion version mounting a PPC, although those in the periphery were largely limited to building the original LCT-1V model. As the Succession Wars wound down, those manufacturers within the successor states began to experiment with new and rediscovered technology to build updated versions of the Locust. The Capellan Confederation, for example, modified the Ares facility to build the LCT-1L variant of the Locust, and with a version of the triple strength Myomer, which wouldn't catch on fire. Other updated variants, such as the LCD-3D, the LCD-3M, and the LCD-3S, were introduced just in time to take part in the clan invasion. After the war, the word of Blake approached Quarian Enterprises about creating a new Locust variant for their militia, agreeing to buy the entire first production run to assuage the company's misgivings. The various periphery powers, still largely reliant on the Locust, also began fielding updated variants of their own, although none of the great houses were much interested in revitalizing the line. Even into the 32nd century, though, the Locust continues to be produced and used out in the periphery. The main weapon of the Locust was a single Martel medium laser mounted in the center torso. Backing this up were 2 Sperry Browning machine guns, which effectively deterred infantry attacks against the Locust's vulnerable legs. These were located in either arm and fed by a 1-ton ammo bin located in the center torso. Lacking hand actuators, the Locust was vulnerable to other mechs when engaging in close combat. The primary asset, however, of the Locust was its speed, using a 160 rate LTV fusion engine to attain a cruising speed of 86.4 km per hour and a top speed of 129.6 km per hour. This speed is necessary for the mech's survival, since 4 turns of armor means the Locust can be quickly crippled or destroyed with direct hits. The standard engine mounted 10 heat sinks are sufficient in most cases, although those variants which mounted more energy weapons suffer quite a bit more. Thank you so much for joining me on today's episode, folks. I really appreciate all the support we've been getting for all of our series here on the channel. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing and liking the video. I really appreciate it. Stay tuned for next week when we cover our next mech in the next weight class, that being the 25-ton light mechs, and we move on from there. I'm Michael Schachman. I've been your host and commentator. And remember, as always, keep it real, keep it safe, keep it healthy, and remember, no guts, no galaxy. Later, everybody.